There are moments in life when everything feels like confusion, when your prayers seem unanswered, when your plans collapse, when your strength fails. And in those moments, a question rises in your heart. Am I really chosen by God? Or am I forgotten? What if I told you that being chosen by God doesn't always look like blessings, applause, or an easy life? In fact, the very signs that prove you are chosen often look the opposite of what you expected. They look like struggle. They look like rejection. They look like weakness. But behind it all, there is a hand shaping you, a voice calling you, a fire refining you. Throughout the Bible, those whom God chose never had a smooth path. Joseph was betrayed and sold before he ever touched the throne. David was ignored by his own family before he ever wore the crown. Jeremiah was despised and rejected before he ever became a prophet to nations. Paul was beaten, imprisoned, and mocked before he carried the gospel to the world. And Jesus himself, the chosen one above all, was hated and crucified before he was glorified. Do you see it? Being chosen does not mean life will be easy. It means your life is set apart. It means you carry a mark, invisible to men but undeniable in the spiritual realm. Heaven recognizes it. Hell fears it. The world resists it. But God fulfills it. And yet, here is the mystery. Many of the chosen walk through seasons where nothing in their lives looks chosen. They may feel abandoned, overlooked, crushed by trials, buried in silence. And yet those very seasons are proof of their calling. Because gold is never pure until it passes through fire. Diamonds are never formed until they are pressed in darkness. Handservants of God are never revealed until they are broken and remade by His hand. So if you have ever doubted whether God has chosen you, listen carefully. Today I will reveal 7 clear signs that God's hand is on your life, even if everything around you says otherwise. These are not random feelings or motivational words. These are truths written in Scripture, confirmed by the lives of those God has set apart. And as you hear them, you may realize that what you thought was punishment was actually preparation. What you thought was rejection was actually protection. What you thought was weakness was actually proof of strength. The world may not see it. Your family may not recognize it. Even you may struggle to believe it. But God has chosen, and His mark cannot be erased. The first clear sign that God has chosen you is this: you have faced unusual rejection. From the outside, it may look like people simply don't like you, or opportunities just slip away. But in the spiritual realm, rejection is often the mark of divine protection. When God places His hand on you, He also places His shield around you. That shield doesn't just block attacks, it also blocks connections, doors, and paths that would have destroyed you. Think of Joseph. His brothers hated him so much, they could not even speak kindly to him. They stripped him of his coat and threw him into a pit. To anyone else, it would have seemed like Joseph's life was ruined. But in truth, the pit was the first step to the palace. His rejection was the very evidence that God had a greater plan, or David. When Samuel came to anoint the next king, Jesse didn't even bother to call David in from the fields. Imagine that, your own father not considering you worthy. But while his family rejected him, God declared, "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." The stone that the builders rejected became the cornerstone. Maybe you know this pain. Friends walk away without reason. Family members misunderstand you. People close to you shut the doors of their hearts. Jobs you thought were secure suddenly vanish. Opportunities you prayed for crumble at your feet. And in the silence of rejection, the enemy whispers, "See, you are nothing. You are forgotten." But hear this truth. Rejection in the natural often means selection in the spiritual. What men push away, God sets apart. What the world discards, heaven crowns. Rejection is not the end of your story. It is the signature of the one who writes it. Jesus himself was rejected by men, despised, mocked, betrayed. And yet that very rejection was the proof of his divine calling. If the Son of God was rejected, why should you expect to be celebrated by the world? So when you face rejection, do not let bitterness take root. See it for what it is, a sign that you do not belong to the crowd because you were chosen to walk a narrower path. The hands that pushed you away only confirm that God's hand is pulling you closer. Rejection stings, yes, but it also sanctifies. It teaches you to lean on God, not on approval. It trains you to find your worth in His voice, not in theirs. And it positions you for doors that only He can open. So if you've been rejected, if people you trusted turned their backs, if life itself seems to say you don't belong, then remember, that's because you don't. You belong to God. and that rejection is the first undeniable sign that you are chosen. The second clear sign that God has chosen you is this: you carry an unexplainable weight inside your spirit, a burden that will not leave you. It does not matter how much you try to live normally, something inside of you refuses to be silent. Others can live comfortably in sin, but you cannot. Others can run after pleasure without thought, but you feel a pull that keeps calling you higher, deeper, closer. There is a restlessness in your soul, a holy disturbance that tells you you were not made for this world. You were set apart. This is not something you can fake, and it is not something you can simply get rid of. When God has marked you, His Spirit begins to press on your heart, convicting you, reminding you, stirring you. Sometimes you may even feel the weight as a kind of loneliness. Even in a room full of people, you know you are different, not because you are better, but because you are chosen. Jeremiah felt this. He tried to silence the fire inside him, but he could not. He cried out, "His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot." That is the burden of the chosen. It will not leave you alone. Think of Moses. He could have lived in the comfort of Pharaoh's palace. He had status, privilege, and security. But the call inside him was too heavy to ignore. He left behind the palace to identify with his people. Why? Because chosen ones cannot escape the weight of God's purpose. And Paul, before he ever became the great apostle, even when he was persecuting the church, the call of God was pressing against him. On the road to Damascus, that burden broke him. Jesus asked, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? It is hard for you to kick against the goads." That phrase means, you are fighting something you cannot fight. My call is greater than your rebellion. Maybe you have felt it too. You try to live like everyone else, but something doesn't fit. You chase after the same pleasures, but they leave you empty. You hear a sermon, and it pierces you more than it pierces others. You feel conviction others don't feel, and you carry a longing deep inside that no relationship, no success, no possession can fill. That is the weight of the chosen. It is not a curse, it is proof. Proof that the Spirit of God is shaping you. Proof that heaven is drawing you. Proof that your life is not random but marked. But let me tell you something sobering. This burden is heavy, and it can make you feel like you are being crushed. Sometimes you may even ask God, why me? Why can't I just be normal? The answer is simple, because you are not normal. You are chosen, and that means your life cannot look like everyone else's. The chosen are restless until they walk in obedience. You will never find peace living outside God's will, because the burden will chase you. It will wake you up at night. It will burn inside you until you surrender. And when you finally do, you will realize it was not to crush you, but to prepare you. So if you carry that unexplainable weight inside your spirit, do not despise it. That is not a sign of abandonment. It is the seal of your calling. It is the evidence that heaven has written your name into a story bigger than yourself. And though the world cannot see it, and you may not yet understand it, that burden is the second undeniable sign that you are chosen by God. The third sign that God has chosen you is this: your battles are greater than those around you. Look at your life for a moment. While others seem to walk through life with ease, you find yourself facing storms again and again. It feels unfair, doesn't it? You ask, why is my path so much harder? Why do I face resistance at every turn? Why does it seem like I fight battles others never have to fight? The answer is not punishment, it is preparation. The weight of your warfare reveals the weight of your calling. Ordinary soldiers do not face the fiercest battles. Only those chosen for greater missions do. And in the same way, those God marks for eternal purposes face attacks designed to break them, because the enemy sees what you cannot yet see. Consider Job. He was blameless before God, yet his trials were unimaginable. Why? Because he was chosen to be a testimony not just to men, but to heavenly beings. His battles were not ordinary, they were cosmic. Think of David. Long before he sat on the throne, he was fighting lions, bears, and giants. Do you see it? His battles were shaping him for his destiny. The private fights no one saw prepared him for the public victories everyone would witness. Or Paul. After encountering Christ, his life did not get easier. It became harder. Beatings, shipwrecks, imprisonments, betrayals. Why? Because chosen vessels are refined through trials. The greater the calling, the sharper the fire. Maybe your life reflects this truth. You've walked through sickness others couldn't endure. You've battled anxiety, depression, loneliness, rejection, and yet you're still standing. You've faced losses that could have destroyed you, but somehow there is still a flicker of faith inside. That flicker is not by accident. It is the Spirit of God sustaining you through battles designed to crush you. The enemy attacks those who threaten his kingdom. If your life has been marked by relentless battles, it is because hell knows your potential. Satan doesn't waste his weapons on those who pose no threat. He strikes hardest at the ones chosen by God because he fears what you will become if you endure. But here is the mystery. The very battles meant to break you are the ones shaping you into who God called you to be. Every tear has watered the soil of your faith. Every wound has carved depth into your spirit. Every storm has anchored you deeper into the rock of ages. So do not despise your battles. They are not evidence that God has forgotten you. They are evidence that God has chosen you. And when you rise from them, you rise stronger, wiser, sharper, more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness than before. If your life seems harder than most, it's not because you are cursed. It's because you are chosen. And the intensity of your battles is the third undeniable sign that God's hand is upon you. The fourth sign that God has chosen you is this. You are drawn to holiness. Even when it costs you everything, something inside of you cannot be satisfied with the shallow. While others are content to live halfway, you feel the pull towards something deeper, something purer, something set apart. The chosen cannot comfortably live in compromise. Even when they stumble, they feel the weight of conviction pressing them back to God. Even when they fall, they rise again because the spirit inside refuses to let them remain in the dirt. Think of Daniel. Taken into Babylon, surrounded by idols, immersed in a culture of compromise, yet he resolved in his heart not to defile himself. He could have eaten the king's food, bowed to the king's idols, lived like everyone else. But the chosen cannot blend in. They stand out because their allegiance is not to the world but to the Lord. Or think of Peter. He denied Jesus in weakness, but the mark of being chosen burned so deeply that he could not remain in failure. He wept bitterly. Why? Because chosen ones cannot rest in sin. Conviction will chase them until repentance brings them back. And maybe this is your story. You've tried to fit in. You've tried to silence the voice inside. You've even tried to enjoy sin like everyone else does. But no matter how far you go, the weight of holiness pulls you back. That is not weakness, that is evidence. Evidence that you are marked, set apart, chosen. The world may laugh at you. Friends may think you are strange. Even your own heart may sometimes wish you could live like everyone else. But holiness is not a burden. It is the proof of God's ownership over your life. The chosen cannot live like the world because they were not made for the world. This hunger for holiness does not mean perfection. It means pursuit. It means that even in your failures there is a cry inside. God, I want to be yours. It means that sin leaves a bitter taste in your mouth because your spirit longs for something higher. And that longing, even in weakness, is the fourth undeniable sign that you are chosen. If you're still listening right now, it's not by accident. Many will click away from this message, but you've stayed because something inside of you knows it's speaking to you. And if it is, I want to invite you, don't just listen, walk with us. Subscribe to this channel and join a community of believers who are hungry for truth, for holiness, for the word of God that the modern church has forgotten. This is not entertainment, it's preparation. And if you are chosen, you cannot walk this path alone, so hear me. Your hunger for holiness is not something you created. It is the Spirit of God proving that you belong to Him. And though the cost may be high, though the path may be narrow, though the world may hate it, holiness is the mark of the chosen. The fifth sign that God has chosen you is this. You have been broken, yet not destroyed. Chosen vessels do not emerge from comfort. They are forged in fire. And one of the clearest marks of God's hand is that you have endured seasons that should have ended you. But they didn't. You were pressed but not crushed, struck down but not destroyed, surrounded but never abandoned. The chosen are survivors, not because of their strength, but because God's hand refused to let them fall. Look at Moses. He should have died the moment he was born. Pharaoh ordered every Hebrew boy to be killed, but the hand of God preserved him in a basket floating on the Nile. Broken circumstances could not end him because he was chosen. Look at Elijah, exhausted, discouraged, ready to give up under the broom tree, saying, "It is enough, Lord, take my life." But God would not let him die there. He fed him, strengthened him, and called him to continue. Why? Because Elijah was chosen, and chosen ones may bend, but they do not break. Think of Paul, whipped, imprisoned, stoned, shipwrecked. Any one of those trials could have ended him, yet he kept going, not by his own strength, but because the Spirit of God carried him. His survival was not luck, it was proof of divine selection. And maybe this is your story. You've walked through storms that others didn't survive. You've endured heartbreaks that should have shattered you forever. You faced nights so dark you thought you'd never see the morning. And yet here you are, still breathing, still standing, still hearing this message. That is not an accident. That is not coincidence. That is evidence. You see, the chosen often go through breaking seasons because God cannot use what has not first been broken. Your pride must be broken. Your reliance on the world must be broken. Even your illusions of strength must be broken. But while breaking strips away what does not belong, it never destroys what God has planted. The potter may press the clay, reshape it, even crush it, but he never discards it. Why? Because he sees the vessel it will become. And the breaking you endured was never meant to end you. It was meant to prepare you. That's why you survived what others didn't. That's why you endured what others couldn't. Because God's hand has been on you even in your darkest nights. The fact that you are here right now listening to these words is proof enough. You are chosen. So when you look at your scars, don't see defeat, see evidence. Evidence that you've been through the fire, and the fire didn't consume you. Evidence that you've been through the storm, and the storm didn't drown you. Evidence that though life tried to break you, God held you together. You are still here, and that survival is not random. It is the fifth undeniable sign that God has chosen you. The sixth sign that God has chosen you is this: you feel a pull toward things that the world does not understand. Chosen people often carry an inner restlessness. You cannot fit into the molds others live in. You cannot silence the voice that whispers, "There is more." Even when you try to blend in, something in you refuses to settle. Why? Because the chosen are marked by eternity, and nothing in this temporary world will ever satisfy them. Think about Abraham. He lived in Ur, surrounded by wealth, culture, and comfort. Yet when God called, something in him responded. He left it all, family, homeland, security, to follow a voice into the unknown. People around him must have thought he was insane. But Abraham wasn't chasing comfort. He was chasing covenant. That inner pull, that restless voice, it was the mark of being chosen. Look at Jeremiah. He tried to quit. He tried to silence the call. He even said, "I will not mention him or speak any more in his name." But then he confesses, "His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot." The world couldn't understand that fire. But the chosen don't get to extinguish it, because it's God himself who ignites it. Maybe you've felt this too. Maybe you've tried to fit in with friends who chase money, pleasure, and approval, but something inside you feels empty when you follow them. Maybe you've been told, "Lighten up, don't take faith so seriously," yet deep inside you know you cannot live half-heartedly. You feel the pull, the fire, the constant stirring of a higher calling. That restlessness is not a curse, it's a sign. God has chosen you, and he won't let you find home in a world that is not your home. Consider this: the chosen often feel like strangers, even in familiar places. That's why Hebrews 11 calls Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob foreigners and strangers on earth, longing for a better country, a heavenly one. If you've ever felt like you don't fully belong here, it's because your true citizenship is elsewhere, and this pull is costly. It will make people misunderstand you. Some will label you as too intense, as too different, as too spiritual. Others may even mock your convictions. But listen, if the world fully embraces you, you're probably not chosen. Jesus himself said, "If you were of the world would love you as its own. But I have chosen you out of the world." That is why the world hates you. The chosen carry this holy discontent, this yearning that won't let them rest until they walk in the purpose God designed. It explains why you can't stay in sin for long without feeling crushed inside. It explains why no achievement, no relationship, no possession has ever fully satisfied you. Because you weren't made for those things. You were made for him. So if you've ever wondered, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just do what everyone else does and be fine with it? Here is your answer. Because you are not everyone else, but you are chosen. And chosen ones cannot quench the pull of eternity. It is a sacred frustration, yes, but it is also a holy confirmation. Every time you feel restless in the world, it is God whispering, "You belong to me." That burning pull is not weakness, it's identity. And it is the sixth undeniable sign that God has chosen you. The seventh sign that God has chosen you is this: you carry a weight that is not from man, but from heaven. It's not just feelings of restlessness or the rejection of the world. It is a burden that presses on your soul, an invisible weight that drives you to intercede, to stand, to remain, even when no one else sees or understands. This burden is not depression, not anxiety, not fear. It is the mark of divine responsibility. Moses felt it when he looked at his people suffering in Egypt. He could have turned away, lived in Pharaoh's palace and enjoyed a life of privilege. But something inside him broke whenever he saw their chains. That weight was not man-made, it was God-planted. He was chosen, and chosen ones can never live indifferent to the cries of the world around them. Nehemiah felt it when he heard about the ruined walls of Jerusalem. Others heard the same news and moved on with their lives. But Nehemiah wept, fasted, and prayed, because the burden was too heavy to ignore. That weight became his mission, and his mission rebuilt a city. And Jesus himself carried the heaviest weight of all, the weight of humanity's sin. In Gethsemane, he cried out, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death." That crushing burden was proof of his chosen mission, to redeem the world. Maybe you felt it too. You see injustice, sin, and brokenness around you, and instead of shrugging it off like others, you can't let it go. You wake up thinking about it. You carry it into your prayers. You feel crushed by what others don't even notice. That's not weakness, it's evidence. God has marked you with his heart, and his heart weighs heavy. This weight explains why you can't just enjoy life the way others do. While they laugh without concern, you feel an ache for eternity. While they live shallow, you crave depth. While they chase pleasure, you are haunted by purpose. This is not a curse. It is the sacred evidence that you are chosen. But here's the truth. The burden is never given without the grace to carry it. The same God who marks you with weight also strengthens you with his Spirit. He does not crush you, he shapes you. He does not drown you. He teaches you to walk on water. This burden you carry will one day become the testimony that others need. And now, looking back at all these signs, do you see it? The rejection you faced, the struggles that broke you, the strange restlessness, the fire in your bones, the weight in your soul, all of it is not random. It's not coincidence. It's not bad luck. It is the fingerprint of God. You are chosen, not because you were perfect, not because you earned it, not because you deserved it. You are chosen because he, in his sovereignty, marked you before the foundation of the world. And when God chooses, nothing in hell can unchoose. So if your life has felt heavy, if you've walked through storms, if you've wondered why you can't just be like everyone else, remember this: you were never meant to be like everyone else. You were meant to be his chosen ones. Walk a narrow path, yes. They face storms, rejection, and weight, but they also carry glory, eternal promise, and a crown that the world cannot take away. So lift your head. The burden you carry is proof of the destiny you bear. The rejection you feel is proof of the love that claimed you. The restlessness in your soul is proof that heaven is your home. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not abandoned. You are chosen, and that truth will echo in eternity.